It's Tuesday, June 3rd, 2014. I'm Jimmy Principe.
I'm Sydney Foster.
And I'm Trey Comstock. Putting your final orders because this is Tech's Last Call, episode 77, your last call for tech news of the week. Tonight, Jimmy reads Snapchat emails in his driverless car. Sydney makes a bold, reusable return to space. And I, Ballmer in many languages at the same time. But we start tonight with, quite frankly, Google annoying the crap out of me.
Yeah, so you might remember back at CES 2013, one of the big themes of the show was self-driving cars. However, the car manufacturers like Audi, Toyota, all assured us that we would still be in control if we wanted to be, that it was a feature that we could turn on and off at any time and was just there if we wanted it. However, Google wants to change all that like normal. This week, Google did show off its own self-driving car prototype, except theirs leaves out the fiddly little bits like the steering wheel and the brake and the accelerator, or anything else that you might have even become accustomed to in a car.
It does have headlights.
An on button.
Unlike a NASCAR.
It has an on button, an off button,
Good.
a map view to show you where you're going. Not that you can do anything about it if you're not going the right direction. And 2 seats with seat belts.
Good.
Google claims that the sensors on the car can remove all blind spots and see in every direction for 2 football field lengths. And according to Google's Sergey Brin, who was the one showing off this contraption at the Code Conference, they're going to have 100 of these prototypes ready in the fall, and they're going to be rolling them out to be road tested. But they're actually going to have manual controls because, like, it's the law.
Right. I mean, yeah, they can't test them without 2 people being able to take control at any given time.
Yeah, and this thing goes up to 25 miles an hour is where it's limited right now.
Right, so that it doesn't have to deal with interesting things like crash safety regulations. That's why. As it turns out, this turns out this is wildly unsafe.
So, Sydney, are you first in line for a Google self-driving car?
Not yet. I have a self-driving car. It's called Trey. But realistically, I'm the type
Trey's a car? Wait, let's go back. This is fascinating.
I do all the driving.
Trey does the driving, the car, basically. You know, it's like it drives itself. I don't
Trey
drive
and the
it.
car are connected. They are one with each
They
other.
are one.
It's a
They
special
channel their inner
relationship.
zen.
But yeah, see, Trey is going to, like he said, Trey is going to be very annoyed by this because he enjoys driving. I do not enjoy driving.
See, that's not actually it. That's not actually what annoys me about this. There's plenty of aspects of driving that I wish would go away, like sitting in traffic. But that's
Rush
not...
hour traffic specifically is my problem.
Google envisions this kind of self-driving car as the end of people needing to own their own cars. Which anytime...
Just get in one.
Right. But anytime anyone in a U.S. market talks about this will be the end of you needing to own your own car, this is going to be like, and this is part of Google's rhetoric around this is going to transform the urban environment. You're just going to like be able to call a car whenever you want and it'll show up and it'll take you where you need to go.
No. Trey, you don't have to call the car. You would have it on your Google Calendar.
Right.
You needed to go to a certain place, and it would use your location to find you.
Sure.
And pick you up and take you to your location.
But listen,
so you wouldn't even have to ask for it. It would be there before you knew you needed it.
Right, but the internal logic for all of this is they're going to and this is their own words, not mine. They're going to transform urban transportation, making it unnecessary for people to own cars.
Because we all stay within the city limits of the places where we live all the time.
Well, no, it's even beyond that.
My city's limits are the size of the state of New Jersey.
Size of the native state of New Jersey. And that's part of it. And the other part of it is, fundamentally, we have yet to find a technology that makes Americans not want to own their own thing. Just fundamentally. Like, when it comes to transportation, there is not a transportation technology out there that has decreased the number of cars on the road. Systematically, all that's happened is we have increased the number of cars on the road. So, sure, self-driving cars, bring them on. I'm sure a lot of people predict there will still be cars that you will have the option to drive yourself, and that's the kind of car that I would like to own. That I have the option.
These would be good, like zip cars, for example.
Right. But you know what hasn't transformed the urban transportation market outside of very limited circumstances? Zipcar.
Zipcar.
And I don't think
They put them at those metro stations in DC. I mean, that was kind of a clever idea.
I know people who use them. I see them around.
They don't have. So the other problem with Zipcar, not that this is totally on topic, is there aren't enough of them.
Right.
There's always like 4 of them at a metro stop in DC, and then once they're gone,
they're gone.
They're gone. So
But
you can't count on them being there, which is why everyone owns their own car.
Owns their own car. So I get this technology, and it's a brave new world and all that, but I do not think for 1 second that this will actually transform urban transportation as we know it. What this is going to be is what all the other car makers are talking about, the actual car makers, the ones who are building cars with safety specs and crap like that. They're talking about you will still own this car, and it will have a self-driving mode and a manual driving mode.
You click a button, so like the Audi thing, you click a button when you're in rush hour traffic,
and it takes
over. Because everybody hates rush hour traffic.
Everyone hates rush hour traffic, but when you're, cruising through the mountains, you still have an Audi that you can drive.
Instead of putting it in auto drive mode, you put it in sport mode.
Right. So it's like an airplane, basically.
And watch as the wheels fly off.
Right. Well, yeah, because you don't know how to drive. But crash it into the tree. Oversteer, understeer. Anyways. So I just...
Oversteer, so you would turn around backwards and slam the back end of it into the tree.
I disagree with Google's fundamental premise behind this, that they think they're going to get rid of the need for people to buy cars.
That comes down to that fundamental American thing of, the company's trying to take away my, we don't like it when people tell us we can't have a thing.
Also, Google's just hyper optimistic about their ability to actually change the world. I'm not saying that Google hasn't changed the world, but I don't think they've changed to the extent they want. I don't want to wear dumb little ridged Google Glass thing on my face.
Are still not they still haven't figured that thing out.
They still haven't figured that thing out.
I feel like Google Glass is like what Google 411 was before Google voice search.
And they've been pretty open about this is a beta, blah blah blah. But it's still
integrate it in some other way. They're not
integrate it into the flat plane of my glasses, and we can talk. Put it into a contact lens, and we can talk. Make me have this little stupid futuristic Geordie LaForge looking bump out thing? Forget about it. And I feel like this is that same kind of hyper optimistic futurist sci-fi BS that Google's not. It doesn't play in Kansas. I want to become a venture capitalist someday so that I can walk around all these dumbass startups and ask the very simple question, does this play in Kansas? Because if it does not play in Kansas, I don't care.
Well, and here's the other one that I thought was interesting. So this is from Google's actual blog post. They say, on the inside, we've designed for learning, not luxury, so we're light on creature comforts. But we'll have 2 seats with seat belts, a space for passengers' belongings, buttons to start and stop, and a screen that shows the route. And that's about it.
Seatbelts are luxuries? Then that just doesn't make any sense, because if the whole point of this car is for you to sit there and be driven around, exactly,
I'm not going to put a doom
you don't
here,
want it to be light on luxury.
I'm sorry, I think Lexus is going to win this. Because I get that.
I think I like Audi's technology the best.
I like
Audi's driving me around.
Also,
I want to be comfy.
The cars better, so
sure. I like the direction that the car makers are taking this, because these cars, for the most part, can already drive themselves, but they don't have...
Audi is truth in engineering?
Truth in engineering, yes. Very good.
Me and the Germans, yeah.
The Germans. I like Google's technological approach to this.
In Latin.
I do.
Yeah, but it also has the problem, it has like a freaking camera thing on top.
LiDAR. It's LiDAR. And keep in mind, the Audi didn't have LiDAR, but the Audi was not nearly as capable. Remember, the Lexus had LiDAR. They all built it into the bumpers and the everything else instead of the LiDAR. Let's be clear. Google still doesn't understand design.
How to design things.
They don't like. This is the people who go on stage still wearing their rollerblades. Okay, these are the people that run this company. Are the people that go on stage still wearing their rollerblades? Like this is like early '90s hacker Armageddon future, which it's not. So Google just does not get the human side of what their technology can do.
Well, you remember the whole Moto X thing where they released that the way they came up with the shape of the Moto X is that in a very Google way, they took thousands of people's hands and like fed them into an algorithm to spit out the perfect shape for an average person's hand.
Turns out my hand was not clearly not part of that sample.
Which first off is fundamentally sexist, but and Treyist because he has little baby man hands.
I'm a baby hands man. Which means the upcoming 5.5-inch iPhone is going to create a unique challenge for me. Because I think that's the one I'll get. But that's way afield.
Is it more than you can handle?
It might be. I'm going to have to go hands-on to find out. That's really funny. That is really, really funny. So look, Google just doesn't understand what their technology means in Kansas. They kind of get what it means in their head, but they don't get what it means in Kansas. And I think self-driving cars are going to be a wonderful thing, but I do not think it's going to get rid of the ownership of cars.
Until they get the self-driving jacked-up pickup truck.
Right, but even
with a button where I can raise it even more. More jacked up one next to me.
Right, exactly.
Now that's a winner.
That's a winner in Kansas. So something that I actually think will make more sense.
That will actually be a winner in Kansas.
Actually be a winner of Kansas and make more sense to humans was another piece from the Code Conference. Microsoft unveiled something actually truly remarkable. Skype Translator. What it does is translate Skype conversations between 40 different languages in real time. Coming out of more than a decade of research and using something called neural networks, it combines machine translation and voice recognition technology. In the demo that they presented on stage, a top-level exec at Skype, I'm going to say this wrong, but I'm going to try. Gurdeep Pal talked to a Microsoft exec in Germany. Gurdeep spoke English. The other exec spoke in German. After each statement, there was a pause, and you'd hear a computer voice translating into English from the German, or into German from the English. Apparently, it didn't, and I watched the demo, it didn't work perfectly, but it definitely got the point across and seemed pretty functional. So this is actually expected to come into a real beta version of Skype this year. This isn't like, 10 years from now, in the future, when we have the Jetsons cars, you'll have this technology. No, like, this is coming...
I still want the Jetsons cars, okay?
Yes. No.
Forget the self-driving cars, you want the Jetson cars.
But fundamentally, you're going to get this theoretically, you're going to get this product this year. So my only question, is it finally the future? Because this is awesome.
This is pretty darn cool. Like, it has a lot of possibilities.
The future keeps happening.
Yeah, it makes me wish I had someone to use it with. I need to get some friends who speak foreign languages. But it's really, and I'm trying to think, I can't remember now who it was because I listened to so many different podcasts where this story was discussed. But as far as the accuracy of the translation, somebody was bringing up or equating it to, when you're speaking English with a non-native English speaker and they say, oh, well, my English isn't great. And even if it's not perfect, you can still understand what they're trying to get across.
That was Paul Thurrott.
Thank you. I couldn't remember who it was. And that's, I totally agree with him. I think that's, at this point, as good as this needs to be. Now, of course, I'm sure it's one of those, as it goes on, they'll develop it and improve it. But even that it can just get you to that level is pretty remarkable.
Well, there's actually a pretty scary aspect to this neural networks thing that Sundar Pichai was talking about on stage at the Code Conference. Sorry, what? It wasn't Sundar. It was Satya Nadella. There's too many names.
Okay, I thought it was Sundar Pichai. He was talking about Zveb.
No, Sundar
All you
Pichai
need
has
is
also
Zveb.
given a
You
live
don't
show.
need this Skype thing. All you need is the Zveb.
No, Sundar Pichai has also given a talk on neural networks, and that's what's smashing together in my brain. Satya Nadella on stage at the Code Conference, in talking about Skype Translator, said in using this neural networks technology, when they teach it, they taught it English, and it got pretty good at English. Then they taught it Mandarin. It got pretty good at Mandarin, and it got better at English. Then they taught it Spanish, and it got pretty good at Spanish, but then it subsequently, because it would learn Spanish, got even better at Mandarin and even better at English. And they don't know why it does that. They don't know why, just like a human brain, as you learn a new language, you get better at the old language. They don't know why the computer functions that same way. So it literally gets better every time you teach it a new language. And
Let's stop teaching it things. Can we stop teaching it things?
Yeah, that's kind of that was Car Swisher's. Car Swisher's comment on stage was something like, and then it's going to rise up and kill us all. and Satya dodged. It was like, no, it's going to help us communicate. And Walt and Kara were kind of like, yeah, let's run for the hills.
Yeah, when it starts to purposefully mistranslate things to create international incidents, then we will be concerned.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do
Right.
What you need to do is make sure you have a human translator on hand for anything that involves launch codes. Just
or
gonna throw that
Klingons.
out there.
never get the computer involved when there's Klingons.
You got to be really careful with what you say and how you say it to Klingons. Many things do mean
Tone
a fight.
is everything.
Tone is everything, and many things result in a fight to the death, and you're not necessarily prepared for that.
This is just going to devolve into people using Skype to learn how to curse in lots of different languages.
Good fuck.
Let's be clear.
I mean, but I really am waiting for this thing to learn Klingon, right? Because there is a lexicon for Klingon, and so you could theoretically teach this thing Klingon.
Elvish.
Elvish.
Programmer at Microsoft is going to say, it'd be awesome. What if we taught it Klingon?
It may already. Let's be clear. It probably already knows Klingon. Probably not.
They taught it English, and then they taught it Mandarin, and then they taught it Klingon.
It's a high priority language.
Like, this thing probably speaks better Klingon and Elvish than any of us. This was developed. Look, this is one of those technologies where I don't see a downside. Is it going to be perfect? No, but it really doesn't need to be. This really, this is the kind of technology that Microsoft's been capable of for a while, and to integrate it into a consumer-level product, we don't know what the cost structure is, blah, blah, blah. But fundamentally, this is great for international business. This is great for,
When it makes Skype an actual viable option for business. If you have this ability and you can trust it to work.
I mean, it'll be Link rather than Skype, but same idea.
Right, whatever. But, using Microsoft video conferencing instead of Cisco or any of the other...
Or Hangouts, or corporations, generally speaking, are not using Hangouts. But,
no.
I mean, this is leveraging... This is, again, the way, I approached all projects that run on Azure. It's...
Drink.
It's Microsoft leveraging big data, right? What Microsoft and what Google have a core competency in is leveraging big data. And this is a chance for Microsoft to do that in a way that's really consumer friendly.
Well, and the thing I think is interesting, because I suspect that Google's also not that far out from this kind of thing.
I mean, they basically... all Google needs is to put the pieces together. They already have machine translation. You were doing that right before the show.
They saw it at Code Conference. They'll roll it out before the end of the year. I'm almost sure.
Well, the way Satya tells it, it's not that easy just to take the three separate pieces involved with this: speech to text, voice recognition, and machine translation, and smush them together. But Google has all three of those separate technologies.
Well, it's not only that; it's also that Google's the type of company that would have already been working on something like this.
Sure.
And so the only reason why I suspect we haven't seen it yet is because someone.
They were too busy on rollerblades.
I can do it for 1,000 people. I can't do it for 1 million. And I said, well, keep trying.
Well, I mean, it sounds like Microsoft... Now, we don't have... Microsoft's rolling it out in a beta. We don't know what the scaling is going to be like. We don't actually know... This is not like a... I believe that the demo actually happened... Like, that was actually a live demo. Because it made a mistake. It screwed up a translation. Or actually, it screwed up a voice recognition and then output a bad translation because it didn't hear it properly.
Did we get a blue screen of death during it?
No, nothing
That's how
crashed.
you know it's a Microsoft live demo.
Nothing crashed.
Then it wasn't real because Skype always crashes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
BS.
Yeah, I mean, all of that. But, I mean, so it made a mistake live, which, okay, they could have planned a mistake. But so I have a sense this was actually a real thing. They weren't BSing it. But given that, we just don't know what the scalability. Now, if, Microsoft and Google both have the server infrastructures to, I think, take this live. It may be my suspicion is it will become a paid feature of Skype Premium. Because
I suspect you're correct.
Because they've kind of neutered Skype Premium to a certain extent. Now that multiple video conferencing is now on the basic level of Skype, which is great, but
Well, it's because they were losing to Hangouts on that.
So I think this is going to become a new, good thing for Skype Premium, which is fine. I'm a Skype Premium subscriber, so good for me. But also, I mean, I think
Myself a good old pat on the back.
no, but this is kind of aimed. I get the sense this mainly appeals to international business. Less so. Very few people. They talk about multilingual families, and I think that's true too. But generally speaking, I think
Less so.
where this is going to be worth paying for is an international business, which in a globalized economy is becoming more and more just not international business, but just business.
Business.
So speaking of business, space is a business. So we actually have a space.
Space, the final frontier.
We had to wipe the dust off that transition.
Didn't everybody miss space?
I did.
I know I did, as the queen of space. So a report from the Wall Street Journal this week cited information from anonymous sources at Google, so you know it's totally legit, about a new addition to the tech giant's Internet Everywhere arsenal. So you may find yourself asking, they've already got fiber and balloons, so what else could they
Trey hates.
possibly want?
Yeah.
Well, here's their new thing, which is, of course, Google in space. Satellites, y'all. So, allegedly, Google intends to launch 180 lightweight low-orbit satellites, which will provide gigabit per second data to areas not being reached by Project Loon and presumably more traditional internet services. According
Kansas.
Kansas, Trey's favorite place.
Sadly, probably true.
They already have Google Fiber there.
No, that's in Kansas. I guess it is in both of Kansas cities.
It's on the line.
So
It's in a
It
part
walks
of
the
It's in
line.
a part of Kansas.
Yeah, so according to the Wall Street Journal, the mastermind behind this satellite venture is Greg Weiler of O3B Networks, which is a satellite communications startup in which Google is an investor. The journal report also states that while the initial satellite fleet could be launched for as little as about $600 million,
But wait, there's more.
it could possibly end up costing closer to 3 Instagrams, which translates to $3 billion if you haven't been listening to us and don't know what an Instagram is worth.
So a Beats, basically.
Yeah, about a
Yeah, one
Beats.
beats.
So Trey, does this sound like a more practical way for Google to bring internet to the world? Or is this just another Project Loon moonshot in the dark?
Is it
Well,
basically racist?
this is potentially less racist if the plan is to cover the whole Earth, right? So that means
180 satellites.
well, yeah.
Whoa.
So I get the sense the long-term plan is cover the whole Earth, and if that's the case, great. Also, there's this already somewhat an existing technology, in that we already have satellite broadband.
Right.
This isn't like
It's not great though. Satellite broadband.
no, it's
still
awful,
is kind
and
of
so it could get better. But this is not like we have needlessly added in weather balloons in this equation,
Just because they look awesome.
right? So,
Yes, but there's nothing better for advertising than having a giant weather balloon in Kenya, for example,
no.
with Google
Here's
spray
what you-
painted on the side of
if you
it,
really want advertising, I mean, if you
as
really
well as probably some male
The-
genitalia.
Google
Because if
moon
we're spray
balloons
painting
are
something, there's going to be
too
male
high for
genitalia.
people to see them, correct?
Yeah. Also, if you really just want advertising in the internet, go for an actual moonshot and put it all on the moon. I mean, that's like a giant billboard in the sky that no one's figured out how to utilize yet.
Got
Monetize,
robots for this. They need to send those
Monetize
up
the
there.
moon?
monetize the moon. I mean, this feels less racist because, from what I've understood of this project, the goal is to actually cover everybody. And this would be great if I could have just wherever I am tap into this one internet satellite network. I have a use for this. They talk about, I think they wrap it in the next billion language to reach the next billion people. But I think I get the sense the long-term goal of this is, and the folks that are kind of working on this are people who have been trying for a very long time to have satellite internet for everybody.
They actually
That's
know
good.
stuff about satellites.
Right. Now, keep in mind,
It's not just like, hey, you know what sounds cool?
well, Mike Elgin
Balloons.
on Tech News Today pointed out that all of the people who are working on this project have previously failed in their attempts to do this. So let's just
Fantastic.
keep that in mind. I don't like wrapping things up in the next billion language because I think that's a little bit of a misnomer. There are very few places in the world with no internet access. Very few places in the world. And if you want, and I've said this before, if you really want to get the next billion, you need to find a way to make a free smartphone. Or a dirt cheap smartphone, an actual functional smartphone with the web for $20. And drive down the price of 3G access. And then you'll actually reach the next billion. It's not going to be satellites, and it's certainly not going to be weather balloons and solar-powered drones. What it's going to be is it's going to be
solar-powered drones, also terrifying.
also terrifying. What it's going to be is it's going to be 4G towers and cheap smartphones. That's how you reach the next billion. All of this is just either PR or, again, Google not understanding humans and not actually looking at Africa. They're just, Africa's and the lions and the tigers and the tigers are in
elephants,
Asia. I messed that up. The lions and the elephants and very few rhinos. They're mostly dead.
Cheetahs.
And cheetahs.
People don't have
fast.
technology.
People
there.
don't have technology. I mean, what they have are a bunch of computers running Windows 98. Trust me, I spent a whole summer building them.
Remember, always bring the Windows 98
Windows
flash
98
drive.
flash
with you.
drive, and a set of precision screwdrivers everywhere I go.
Utility belt.
But what internet access was a smartphone or an internet cafe. And I think if you want to reach the next billion, you make really, and I think the Moto G gets closer than...
Well, and then the Moto E is their newest
and the
one.
Moto E. Those get closer than weather balloons and swamp gas over Venus and satellite fleets and
Okay, Men in Black.
other, like, all of these moonshot projects that are going to reach the next billion kind of ignore the situation on the ground with the actual people in the next billion. Because what it is, it's smartphones. It's not. I mean, I think I like the satellite project because I can see a benefit for me. But I don't...
If they can pull it off, I definitely think that it'll be beneficial
Yeah,
for
sure.
everyone,
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
just the next billion.
This
but
I don't hate this the way I hate the weather balloons. Let's be clear. I don't hate this
Google
idea.
satellites.
You
Trey
really hate
doesn't
the weather
hate them.
I don't, but I hate the weather balloons.
there are a few things you hate as much as the weather
Range
balloons.
Yeah,
support.
I mean the solar powered drones that are also going to bring Nazis. I hate them. I hate the weather balloons. I hate the solar
It
drones.
goes Nazis, drones, weather balloons in that order.
Not all weather balloons, just Project Loon weather balloons.
Actual weather balloons? Okay, that's fine.
I'm okay with actual
Being
weather balloons.
unexpectedly wet.
Being honest, I
goes
also
in there
hate
as
that.
well.
That's
Wait, so is that above or below Project Loon weather balloons?
It's certainly it's below Nazis, but above weather balloons.
So you hate weather balloons less than being wet.
Unexpectedly wet, yeah.
Unexpectedly wet.
This is really makes for really great content, folks. So what else is happening in space that I certainly don't hate?
So if our last space story was not to your liking, perhaps It's okay. This one.
This is a
one
totally not racist space story.
is more exciting. So Elon Musk. See, you're already more excited.
All I just see is Iron Man.
Elon Musk, and he does crazy stuff. So Elon Musk unveiled SpaceX's Dragon V2 spacecraft on May 28th. The Dragon V2 is similar to SpaceX's Dragon, which has made multiple trips to the ISS, but the difference with the V2 is that it is actually a manned craft, as opposed to robotically piloted, so it's meant to be piloted by a crew of 7. Very exciting.
This feels like going backwards. We're going from a robot thing to a person thing.
Yes, this is a person thing, but robots are scary, and this
And
moves
awesome.
people. So among the Dragon V2's many very fancy features is the ability to land, quote, with the accuracy of a helicopter. So not just like, okay, we're coming out of orbit and we're just going to
Shenanigans.
crash wherever we
Close
happen
enough.
to crash. You know, there's an
Shenanigans.
ocean, it's pretty big, covers most of the world, we could probably hit it. So this supposedly is going to just come down where you want it to and land.
Okay.
Well,
Statistically, we won't land in Kansas.
this one doesn't play well in Kansas. So it can do that, and then also supposedly it's going to be able to dock with the space station, either under robotic piloting or human piloting, but without assistance from the space station itself, which is a feature and an upgrade, basically.
Cool.
So the Dragon V2 is also unique in that it can be supposedly quickly and easily reused. So after it makes a landing with the help of its propulsion system, it basically just needs to have its propellants reloaded, refilled, and then it's
So
ready
oil
to fly
oil
again.
change tires and
Right.
Rotate the tires.
rotate the
So-
tires, gas it up, kick the tires, and light the fires.
Top
Yeah.
off the fluids.
Top
you
off the
know, Make
fluids.
sure you got the windshield wiper fluid clean.
You don't want
cleaner in
to
there.
make sure there isn't a coolant leak if it's dripping underneath. It's bad. Keep going.
Pour more water in the radiator.
Yeah, or actual coolant fluid rather than water, so it doesn't freeze in winter.
Oh yeah. That's
It's
important.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the number being thrown out there is that it can make about 10 trips or so before needing really serious maintenance.
So is that like synthetic oil, or is that some kind of
Yeah,
blend?
but you can get about 15,000 miles if you're using a full synthetic blend. This is a really interesting story. Mm-hmm. I'm captivated. Mm-hmm. Tell me about the engine.
Let me tell you about that. That is my personal favorite thing. The engines produce 16,400 foot-pounds of thrust. Supposedly it can land even with 2 engines out, and the very best thing about the engines is that they are called Super Draco.
Super Draco.
Apparently
So
the
they're super
ones on
emo
the,
as well.
the Dragon were just Draco, but these are Super Draco engines. So really the only remaining question is, can we get this thing ready to go before Steven's dear friend Pooty Poot stops giving our astronauts a ride to the ISS? So please help us, Elon Musk. You are our only hope.
Well, certainly NASA has failed to be our hope. Look, I like NASA. I do. But I mean, if they want to keep privatizing space, fine, because Elon Musk and Richard Branson seem quite willing to keep doing things in space.
Thanks, rich
Keep shooting
guys.
things up into the sky.
Sure. I mean, yeah. What we have here is a reusable human carrying capsule with the same carrying capacity as the space shuttle in terms of
really
people.
cool looking.
It's cool looking. It's privately financed, so theoretically, you know, if they can find a way to make money off of it, they can keep it going, and they have an incentive to keep it going, which is all things that the space shuttle program didn't have.
Besides, that whole Russia thing, as far as international politics right now, is not looking so hot.
Yeah, well,
I'd like to refer to the G7, formerly G8.
yeah, okay.
There's a
Yep.
meeting of them
Yep.
till today, I believe.
Well, so Russia invaded the.
Sorry, this is Tomorrow Never Dies kind of stuff.
Yes.
Talking about tomorrow's news.
Tomorrow's news today. What
What was the newspaper thing where the guy got the newspaper early?
right. But that was that was basically
Early edition.
turning
Early edition.
Early
That was
edition.
it. Thank you.
But that was turning, what's his face? The guy who owns Fox, Rupert Murdoch, into a Bond villain. Just like the most recent Bond movie was Julian Assange as a Bond villain. It's just hitting a little close to home. I'm excited about this. This is great. I want to see it actually happen. Every time you give me a space thing that goes, hey, look, that's cool, what I want to go is, yes, but will it actually happen? Because you know what we've been talking about for 15 years? Orion. You want to know what has yet to launch anyone anywhere? Orion.
To be fair, it wasn't slated. The most recent announcement of it, which was
The most recent announcement was, but it was supposed to be operational in 2015.
But this has 3D
when
printed
Bush announced
engines.
it in his second term that we're going back to Mars, or we're going back to space. Going to
Well,
Moon
we were still
2020.
in space at that point.
I believe that 2017 was the
Okay.
expected launch date of Orion. There was going to be a dead zone of about 4 years between the end of the shuttle program and the beginning of Orion.
Hey, Jimmy, when did the shuttle program end?
Many moons ago.
And how far off is Orion?
Many moons later.
Yeah. Okay. And that and that's why folks like Elon Musk are stepping up to fill that gap.
Because Soyuz is such a trustworthy brand. They've only been using that. The Russians have only been using that since the 70s.
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. What's their safety record? It's Russia, so not.
No. They covered up all the ones that blew up, okay?
Yes. So, speaking of a cover-up operation, we
Things
have
that blow up.
two different last calls for you tonight. So, Jimmy, you're up first.
Okay, so what kind of guy would create a messaging platform that allows messages to be temporary and fleeting? Well, kind of. Apparently he's a total jerk.
Oh, yeah.
This week, undergraduate emails from Snapchat founder Evan Spiegel were brought to light
Papa
by
Spiegel, as he likes to be called.
Pretty
Spiegel,
sure that's
yeah.
his dad.
Were brought to light by Valleywag, Gawker.
Gawker, it's the
property.
the tech news gossip blog thing.
Why is that a thing?
Showing that he was degrading to women, misogynistic, and overall a really crappy person.
Was.
And also about that, was kind of joking about drugs and doing all kinds of horrible things. And anyways, so the media has had a field day with this information, causing Spiegel to issue a public apologies for his previous
the
comments.
provost-
But it didn't seem that, his comments did kind of include something about we should make it so that information is fleeting and we can only save the 1% that's valuable. And
That's why he thinks
sorry,
Snapchat
I got
existed
caught.
in his day.
He got denounced by the provost of Stanford.
It is Stanford. They are quite reputable institution, and this guy's an idiot.
And a jerk.
Trey, what do you think? Do you think this has been kind of like blown out of proportion, or to make it more obvious why this guy just cannot be trusted with anybody's data,
No, I think
let alone his own?
in some ways, I now believe more in Snapchat. Because I now understand his motivation behind inventing Snapchat.
He doesn't want this kind of stuff to come to light, so
He
he's
did-
going to try to
like-
hide it as much as possible.
Like, the terrible things that come out of his fingers show me that this man really believes in the mission of Snapchat. That the dumb stuff he says can disappear into the ether. And to remind all of us of his true motivation, we will now each read a selection of things written by Evan Thomas Spiegel.
we apologize in advance for the profanity that will probably be bleeped out in the final cut.
Yep. So
It is
Jimmy,
significant.
will you read a selection from the works of Evan Thomas Spiegel?
Okay, so this is Evan Spiegel from 6910 to Kappa.
This is
That's
all
right.
of these are to his fraternity, by
Yeah,
the way.
these are all to his fraternity. Wait, hang on. What is the title of this email? So the title is "Huge Party Tonight" / Pulse Update. The text reads, "That's right. Now drinking. 9:30 p.m. Pledges arrive to set up. Make them do whatever you want / need. 11 p.m.
Amazing.
Stanford friends are blacked the out with us. Shopping list. 3 kegs. 5 plastics. You know what plastics are? Please tell us. We'd like to
Because
know.
we don't know.
Plastic
We have no idea. We're not
tablecloths?
We don't know.
Plastic shot
cards.
glasses. Approximately 1 ounce of marijuana. And approximately 1 kilo of blow.
That's a lot of blow.
There's a lot of blow. I'm going to have some pledges make jello shots. I'll roll a blunt for whoever sees the most tonight. Evan.
Glad the men of Kappa Sigma.
Hold on.
include
There's a
some
pulse update.
Very important
Bobby
home
is
economic
really high
skills
now.
in their pledge.
Bobby is also a co-founder of Snapchat.
It's important.
Pledge
That he was very high
education
now.
includes learning how to make jello shots. That's,
So-
I'm
So,
glad
Trey,
that's an
what
important
selection do you
focus.
have for us?
So mine's more of a short story.
the story in 3 acts.
It's a story in about 12 hours. Last night and this morning, as depicted by a series of colorful vignettes by Evan Spiegel. 9:30 p.m. I hope we finish the keg before the Pi-Fis get here. 10 p.m. Pi-Fis are more frigid than previously anticipated. Maybe if I get more, they will stop huddling in corners.
Editor's note: not helpful.
10:30 p.m. Each team completed 1 station. Progressive equals success. Let's throw a rager. 10:35 p.m. Wait, Pi-Fis don't rage. Bummer. At least we have another tray of rubbing alcohol / cello flavored shots. Note to self. Thank Cogshell and Cam. 11 p.m. Drunk sex would be a ton of fun right now. 11:30 p.m. I am definitely too drunk to have sex. Probably too drunk to not have sex. Let's give this a shot. 4 a.m. I Lily.
Lost hours in there.
There's some lost hours. I on Lily while assuming the big spoon position.
That
11
was a question.
4 a.m. and 30 seconds. 4:01. Maybe I can blame this on her. 4:02. The back of her shirt. She's gonna be super irritated. This is pretty gross. 4:06 a.m. Waking up to Pi-Fis sucks. Yep. So Sydney, what's
No. You left off the end of that one.
I did
which is
list. Oh, I'm sorry.
Note to self: don't
On
Lily
Lily
again.
again. So, yep. Okay.
This man's children are going to be able to get away with anything. Like, you have completely just lost any authority you
It's
ever
all on the
had.
internet.
Like, dude, dad, you somebody, like, don't tell me how to live my life. All right, there's so many good selections. I'm reading from email sent to the fine brothers of Kappa Sigma, Wednesday, November 11th, 2009, about more USC details. Presumably this is a trip for football or something. Read even if you're not in Boostabego.
Let's be clear. We believe a Boostabego is a Winnebago or motorhome-esque moving vehicle that you drink in while en route to a thing.
Yeah,
We believe that's what a Boostabego is.
that's the best translation we can come up with. All right,
God.
here we go. Guys, here is some more details. Stanford English Department shakes its head at you. Here is some more details and stuff to think about for this weekend. We need a list of people going. Need to prepare Papa Spiegel. If you don't respond by Wednesday night, you will not be let into the party and will not be allowed to sleep there. This is him throwing his father under the bus. Side note, Spiegel says if you have hot girlfriends in LA, they can come over for a little bit for the party. Let us know they're coming so they get let in. Be responsible at Spiegel's because, as we've learned, this man is all about responsibility.
Yep.
Papa Spiegel is liable for underage drinking, and he's cool with it because apparently he doesn't mind serving a felony charge.
That's an editorial note.
Yeah, anyway. But just be respectful with your underage drinking. We are going to boost on the way down there.
In the Boostabego.
Right.
That's the point of the Boostabego, is to boost en route to the thing.
But probably not a good idea to show up blacked out on Friday night. Thanks. people not coming in the Boostabego are still expected to pay for alk if they are going to the Spiegels and the tailgate. Bummer. Most important note in the entire email coming up, folks. Do not use the bathroom in the Boostabego. We have to dump the tanks. Don't want to do that. Reminder, we are drawing straws for drivers. Only fair way to do it. Yeah. You really don't want to be the guy who has to drive the Boostabego.
So, and I will close this section with the reading of the most indecipherable email we have yet to find. If anyone understands what this email means, please write in, because we have been debating about this in the office for several days. So, from October the 13th, 2010... So it appears that SAE and TDX are releasing their fall collection of whack tanks for... And
that's the subject line.
And considering we've already paid for these bad boys, I don't see why we shouldn't get this order in ASAP. Email me if you object. Evan. If anyone knows what a whack tank is...
Actually, no, I don't want to know. Please do not email us.
No, email me, because I've been...
Go to Facebook, look Trey up, and Facebook message him personally.
Text
do not send me an email. I'm the one that gets the text last call emails.
Podcast.
You will make Jimmy's day.
I do not want to know what a wank tank is.
Whack tank.
Whack tank.
Whack tank. That's very different.
Maybe.
I've actually no idea what a whack tank is.
No idea.
So, the point of reading all of these, besides the fact that it is hilarious, is... This is why he wanted Snapchat to exist, because of the terrible things that he said, and the kind of person that he apparently is the kind of person that needs the dumb stuff that he says to disappear from the world within 10 seconds of it being viewed. And, by the way, what's a whack tank? So, something else that's slightly whack... That was a rough transition.
Drugs whack.
So cheerleaders in Los Angeles are going to have to learn how to Ballmer, because the former Microsoft CEO has won the bidding war for the controversy and battled LA Clippers. Steve has agreed to pay the Sterling family $2.1 billion, or roughly 10% of his net worth, for the team, which is 4 times more than the most expensive NBA team sale ever, and something like 15,000 times return on Sterling's initial investment, who is under pressure to sell the team after racist remarks leaked onto the internet. Ballmer has publicly stated that he has no plans to move the team to Seattle at this time, but that is something he had been interested in before, is in moving a team to Seattle.
Well,
so
we'll see about that. Team. The Supersonics.
Right, but now they
now the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Right. So, simply stated, every day I'm Ballmer-ing.
I feel sorry for those of you not on the video podcast right now. You're missing out.
Trey is Ballmer-ing. You need to watch the video, people.
Yeah. We have
I feel like we need to put up a how-to video.
So it's this.
How to Ballmer.
So you stick your arms out.
It needs to be a separate video,
Special
Trey.
feature.
Twist.
This is a
Don't
public
give it away.
service announcement, okay? For all the cheerleaders that are now
For the LA
by
Clippers.
Steve Ballmer. First off, we apologize. Second off,
well, he had a statement.
Let's clarify that the cheerleaders are not owned by anyone. I don't think that's how it works.
On that note, it's probably time to
Evan
end.
Spiegel
Thank
would
you so
disagree.
much for joining us on this edition of Text Last Call. If you have any feedback, or if you know what a whack tank is, please send your information to podcast@textlastcall.com, facebook.com/textlastcall, pinterest.com/textlastcall, or at textlastcall on the Twitters. However you find us, we'll be seeing you on the interwebs.
Or in the Boostabego.
Only for Boostabego.
So the show title just need to be In the Boostabego.
Ballmer-ing in the
Ballmer-ing in the
Yes.
Boostabego. That's the title. Ballmer-ing in the Boostabego. Someday I want to interview Steve Ballmer so I can Ballmer with Steve Ballmer.
He would enjoy it.
I think Ballmer is a really excitable guy. Ballmer would Ballmer. That's the whole point of the dance, is it's excitable. Just like Steve Ballmer.